We have some breaking news. An MLB insider has dropped a bombshell of a report as it pertains to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his future in Toronto. We're going to break that down as we are 1 day away from opening day, and what this report entails changes the landscape for the Jays going forward. Stay tuned for that in this episode, as well as a few other Jays updates. But before we get into it, folks, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. And bear with the setup over the next few days. I am traveling. I am in Toronto for tomorrow's home opener, and I will be at the game. So bear with the setup over the next few days. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it. There is a lot to go over today, and let's focus in on what just dropped very recently. And of course, there'll probably be another video later because there's a ton of news today, as we are now about 24 hours away, depending on when you watch the video, from opening day. And as of the time of recording, about a day away. We finally made it. But Mike Rodriguez came out with this report here. According to my sources, Toronto and Vladdy are doing everything they can to reach an agreement before opening day. They were in discussions today, and my source says that they were talking about more than $550 million over 14 or 15 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge report. Now, again, it isn't Jeff Passan or any of those reporters, but Mike Rodriguez has been very accurate this offseason in a bunch of different reports. John Heyman's given him credit. I believe Jeff Passan even credited Mike Rodriguez in a few scoops this offseason. So this guy is, he's more reputable than Hector Gomez, to say the least, and he's coming out and saying that Toronto and Vladdy are doing everything they can to reach an agreement before opening day, which is 24 hours away. So we might see a move be imminent here for the Toronto Blue Jays as it pertains to a signing in Vladdy. And it is very interesting because today was also media day for the Blue Jays. We heard some comments from John Schneider and things like that. And we're going to break it all down, but we're going to focus in on this report here. So obviously, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they extended Alejandro Kirk a few days ago here, and this makes a ton of sense, the Alejandro Kirk extension. But as it pertains to Vladdy, this makes even more sense. If you want to have a sense of stability heading into opening day, if you don't want to worry about the future of your superstar player past this year, this would be the time to extend him. Obviously, they said that Vladdy came out with his deadline day, which is February 18th. Ever since then, he's kind of been publicly stating that he's open to moving that. He can still talk. His agent will talk with the Blue Jays up until that point actually comes. And the point seems to be now where the Jays are very in on actually extending this player. And let's not forget, a week ago, on March 17th, a new report indicates that Toronto Blue Jays are making a new contract offer to Vladdy Jr. And this was from Hector Gomez. And this is, of course, a different report from Mike Rodriguez. So this is, of course, now two different independent reports that said basically the same thing. The Blue Jays are planning to make a new offer to Vladdy, which would be close to what he's looking for. According to the source, the Jays' offer would be in the range of 14 to 15 years and 550 to 600 million. And that is basically the exact report that Mike Rodriguez came out with. So unless they're using the same source, this is very encouraging news. And again, I would say Mike Rodriguez is more reputable. He's more reliable than a guy like Hector Gomez. But regardless, you now have two different reports coming out saying the same thing. You can see here under the headline there, after the original deadline for negotiations came and went without a deal, the Jays are reportedly still looking to get something done. And this was back on March 17th. And then since then, we hadn't really heard too much about it. But we are now the day before opening day, where things are really going to, again, once opening day starts, I'm sure there'll be some negotiation back and forth, but I think most of the contract negotiations, if they're going to happen, are going to happen over the next specifically 24 hours before opening day, which is tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. So this is very interesting. Now, I'm curious to see what you guys think about the actual number of the deal. Let's pretend that, let's assume that this happens at 550 over 14 or 15 years for a minute. Let's just play under the assumption that that's true. Is that a number you guys are comfortable with giving Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Because at this point, that is a hefty amount. We know the current offer is $450 million after deferrals, and he wants $500 to $550 million after deferrals. He wants to become the second highest paid player besides, of course, Juan Soto, and he wants to make more than a guy like Shohei Ohtani. And it is a very steep price to pay. And let's not forget, March 20th, just a few days ago, Mark Shapiro came out on Vlad Jr. and said, I think we're going to extend him. So he came out and basically said, I made a video on it, that he seemed very confident. It's very rare that, a general manager, whoever executive, comes out and says something as bold as that. And for that to come out before both of these reports, this report came out first from Hector Gomez, and then Mark Shapiro comes out and says that, and then another report drops just a day before opening day. You have to assume that there are active contract negotiations going. Mike Rodriguez is very He has a lot of sources within the Dominican players and things like that. So this is interesting. And we can kind of dive into the full quote again. His reasons aren't complicated. Shapiro believes, like everything he does, leans on logic and experience. The numbers are the complicated part, and always will be in a negotiation of this magnitude, but he sees all of the pillars in place. We have such a clear alignment on the desired outcome. Vlad wants to play his whole career as a Blue Jay. We want him to end his career in a Jays uniform and be a true legacy player for the Jays. That's a pretty good place to be. The challenge, of course, is finding that sweet spot. And of course, we know that Vladdy loves Toronto. By all accounts, he wants to be here for the rest of his career. And now it seems like that's actually going to come to fruition, because we're at a point now where they have 24 hours to get this done. Can you imagine the standing ovation? Luckily, I'll be in attendance for opening day if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets extended. If he doesn't, he's still, of course, going to be applauded, all these different things. That's not going to change necessarily, but he's going to get a huge... Everyone will just have a big sigh of relief. The collective fan base, everybody in the arena, if this deal gets done. Can you imagine the energy heading into opening day tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles, where the division, for the first time in a handful of years, is wide open? The highest win projected total from Fangraphs is 86, and it is, I believe, the Yankees, and the Jays are at 83. So it's like, no matter which way you look, this is an opportunity for the Jays to have a fantastic breakout year. And if you can get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. locked up, you have him for the foreseeable future. That question mark goes away, and this team can continue to just absolutely, hopefully, go on a long stretch this season. The Blue Jays have proven with the pursuits of Shohei, Juan Soto, and others that they can hang with the big boys. And this kind of goes back to the report of $550 million. He went on to say, Mark Shapiro, in the press conference, let me be clear, there's only one player in the MLB who had a marketing case that meant, offered a ton of value to the contract, and that is, of course, Shohei Ohtani. In every other case, I would say the only other thing that sells tickets is the hundreds of thousands is winning. There are players who have magnetic personalities like Vlad who amplify winning and who can really help, but fans don't come to see great players on losing teams, which is a very true point. I mean, Shohei Ohtani obviously is an exception with the Japanese fan base and all those different things, but at the end of the day, this is going to be an absolutely crazy next 24 hours, and hopefully the Jays can get this done, because this report is not only a bombshell of a report, but this changes everything for the Jays if they can go ahead and get this done. Please get it done so everybody at Rogers Center tomorrow can have a collective sigh of relief. Everybody around Blue Jays baseball, around the country, will have a sigh of relief if they get this done with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A couple other things before I wrap up here. John Schneider was asked about who would cover center field with Vershroud. He said Miles Straw will see the bulk time against lefties, with George Springer, Nathan Lindquist, and Alan Rodin candidates against right-handed hitters, which means tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we might see a opening day lineup with Will Wagner and Alan Rodin in there if you can move George Springer to center field. Now, we did not think that George was going to be, able to play center field or something that the Jays wanted to entertain. But now that that is the case, and we'll probably cover this in a video later on today as well, this is huge going forward. And we can see an opening day lineup now that includes Springer in center, Ernie Clement, of course, Will Wagner, and then Alan Rodin. This is the best chance you have to win, is George Springer in center field. And he's not going to be playing there a ton of games anyway. It's not going to be a massive deal, especially if you have Dalton Varsho coming back in the foreseeable future. So it's going to be crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully Vladdy gets that contract extension done, and we'll keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and let us know down below. Let me know down below, are you comfortable with that deal?